Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to another recent viewing video. And I'd say I think this is the first time I can definitively state that I watched a movie for this series, or just in general. Well, no, for this, since I've been doing these videos, that I just didn't really care much for. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was something before that didn't quite do it, but I have mentioned it before that I strive to watch movies that I like, or I think that I would like. So real quick, the story behind why I watched this one has to do with packaging, because packaging and presentation is everything. Ever since the movie in question, As Above, So Below, a horror movie basically, that came out early last month on DVD and Blu-ray, ever since it hit the shelf at my store, I have looked at it. I've really enjoyed the packaging. It's got a red slip cover. It has a really interesting, artwork and detail on the front of it. It's like embossed or laminated or whatever you would call it. Looked cool, and it's nagged at me because when I saw the previews for it, and when PewDiePie of all people did a Catacombs challenge and talked about the movie, I just thought, I don't really care. It doesn't really look like anything. It's just another scary movie, and scary movies aren't really my thing. But, it hit the shelf, and I was like, well, maybe I'm selling it short. Maybe I'm, what would you call it? Allowing myself to be tainted or something by the fact that I just don't care much for horror movies in general. So I thought, well, if I get a chance, I'll try to watch it. I should at least watch it and make a decision. I didn't want to just buy it and spend $20, $25 on a movie that in the end I might end up really, really disliking. So I thought, well, I had some Vudu credit and I rented it. And it got to be at like somewhere around 3:30 or so this afternoon. I checked it and I had like between 5 and 6 hours left to watch it. Vudu movies, when you rent them, you have 30 days from when you select that movie to watch it. I went a whole month before I finally sat down and checked it out. But I'm glad that I did. I didn't care for it, but I'm glad that I did watch it. One, I can just say, hey, I did watch it. Once I get into some of the details of the movie, I can say, hey, I conquered that. But I can also say that I didn't spend the money on it and then feel wasted later on. Now, if this movie was ever available for like $10 or less on Blu-ray, I would probably buy it. I know that sounds dumb, but I probably would. It's that collector part of me. But anyway, let's get to the movie and kind of why I didn't care for it. I'll just try to sum up the movie as quickly as possible. This lady is searching for an object that her father had searched for years and years before his passing, and she picked up in his footsteps, whatever, and attempted to go locate this item as well. Basically, it's like a lore item, a stone that basically the owner or possessor of this stone has eternal life, eternal riches, eternal blah blah blah. After a while, I felt like I was watching National Treasure 3, only with a different lead actor and with a scary overtone to it. It had followed a lot of the same kinds of steps, I guess, as National Treasure, as even like the Da Vinci Code, going someplace and sorting out clues and trying to get to the thing that you're after. Only in this one, she ends up in Paris, France, and she goes into the catacombs, which apparently really exist because they filmed the movie in these catacombs. They base it around these catacombs. PewDiePie, when he did the challenge, actually went into the catacombs. It's I guess it's like a tourist attraction type thing now where you can actually go into it. I believe, anyway, you can go into it and take tours through it, and maybe you could have the same experience that Pewds had in the challenge, and that there were actually actors and stuff down. And I may be wrong on that part. That may have been done specifically for him, which was a tie-in to advertise for this movie. I can tell you right now, I would not go down in there. You couldn't pay me enough to go inside of something like that. And this is where we're going to get into the movie and why it was scary to me as opposed to why it was probably intended to be scary for the general audience. I am not necessarily claustrophobic. I could go into a closet in my bedroom or the one that's here in the hallway in between the living room and the kitchen and close the door and just sit there. I would have no problems. I would not freak out. I would not burst out of the door after a few minutes, panting and sweating. But what I do have a problem with are those small little corridors and places like that that are surrounded by nothing, let's say. Like, for example, in this movie, they're in these catacombs underneath the city. There is dirt and concrete and buildings up on top of where they are at. That would freak me out, being in a little tight, confined space, worrying that, it may collapse in on me. That would freak me out, big time. Also, things like drainage pipes and sewer pipes and whatnot, like Shawshank Redemption, when Andy Dufresne goes through all that stuff. It's not the poo and the nasty sewer water that's in there that freaks me out. That would be disgusting and gross. But the idea of if you were to find yourself in that situation and you didn't know whether to go that way or that way, which was the way out, was it going to get smaller? Would it get to a point where you couldn't turn your body around? Oh my God, that freaks me out. And in this movie, they had a moment where they had to crawl over bones in a tight, small little thing. I mean, I feel like looking at myself in the viewfinder here that they didn't have much more room than what you see right here. Bones beneath them, wall or ceiling above them, not able to turn around. People going together, like there was 6 of them, I believe, at that point, who were all crawling through this with somebody in front of them, somebody behind them. It was just horrifying. And then one of them gets stuck, and he starts to panic, and he starts to hyperventilate, and I'm like, that would be me. I would be so freaked out in a situation like that. That's what scared me about the movie. I literally got up off the couch, walked over here by the computer, walked around the room while the movie was still playing until they got through that scene. That disturbed me. And since, even though it seems to be a very lightly applied plot point, the things that happen to you down in those tombs, the things that happen, I don't know if it's just being in the catacombs or if it's from having that stone or whatever they were after altogether, but it's mentioned that it preys on your worst fears. Well, my worst fears would be that I would be down in that situation and it would crush me, it would collapse in on me, or I'd be trapped in it or something like that. That's why it would be a big no-no. I would never go down into something like that. Just never. But when the powers or whatever that was at play here started to affect some of them, all of their different things to be scared about were all over the place. The lead actress, the character or whatever, the lady who you like, mainly the movie's through her eyes and it's about her story. Her biggest fear has to do with her father and how he died and everybody said he killed himself. So she sees her dad hanging. It's like, okay. I mean, it's pretty obvious that that's not legit. It's not real. That's one of my biggest complaints about movies like this, especially movies that seem to base themselves in reality. And they say that now you're confronted with your worst fears. So she sees her dad swinging in a noose. Except she doesn't believe that that's what he did. And obviously it can't be real because he's been dead for years. If I saw that kind of thing in front of me, I would just be like, bullshit. But of course, the characters in a movie like this, they give in to it. This guy, I remember his character's name was George, who didn't want to go down in there with him, but eventually, I mean, he ended up getting forced into it because otherwise he would have been arrested or something like that. It happened quick in the movie, and then it was like, okay, he's inside there with them now. He doesn't go into caves and stuff like that because when he was a kid, his younger brother had died. he had drowned, and he had went to go try to help him, and he got lost on the way, and his brother drowned because of it. So he fears those caves and those kind of situations because of what happened to his brother. So at one point in the movie, he sees his brother like underneath some water. Even though it was water right underneath where they were walking, it was like he couldn't get into it. Like all of a sudden it turned into some sort of a fish tank, and he was on the other side of the glass, and his brother was drowning below him, and he freaks out. I'm like, come on. I don't know how they expect people to believe in that and give into it ourselves as an audience. How are we supposed to be scared or panicked or affected by that? It didn't do anything for me. Another guy, a character who I thought was kind of, he was kind of a cool character. It was interesting. His name was Papier or Poppy or Pap. He kept spray painting his name, Pap, on the wall. And he's the one who led them into the catacombs to go around the means in which they would normally have to take, where they would be open to, discovery by the officials or the people who are over the catacombs, like as the attraction. So he took them in this other way. Anyway, there was nothing ever mentioned about what might scare him. So all of a sudden, and I kind of consider it this iconic scene from the trailer, they walk around a corner and there's a car sitting underneath there and it's on fire. And there's a person inside of it who's burning. And Papier or whatever, he starts saying, "It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault." And then he gets sucked into the car and it pulls him in and he gets scorched and burnt, and the car just like collapses in on itself and shrivels up, and it's just his legs sticking up out of the ground. And it was like the most ridiculous thing I ever saw. I was like, are you really trying to tell me that I'm supposed to be scared and or affected by that? It may have been the jump the shark moment of the movie for me, and that was quite a ways into the movie, which I wanted to point out was something that blew me away about this movie. I paused it, and I checked to see how far into the movie I was when the first main character died. Because these kind of movies where it's a group of people and they go into somewhere scary, into a sticky situation like this, people start to die. And it took over an hour before the first main character in this group died. And actually, it wasn't even really a character in the group now that I think about it. Poppy and his little group knew of somebody who used to live in the catacombs, who went down the wrong place, the scary, evil, haunted place, went down into there and was not seen or heard from again like 2 years prior to the events of this movie. And they bump into this guy after they are forced to go into that area too. And of course, they just allow him to lead him around through the catacombs. He's the one who dies, but then of course he comes back a few minutes later and he kills somebody else in the group. But it was still over over an hour, before anybody in the movie died. And the movie was only an hour and a half long. So, I don't know. I was thrown for a loop by this movie. The only thing that scared me about this movie were the things that affected me personally, and not just on a general, oh, that was scary. There were some creepy moments. There were some nice little touches. This was a movie that, as far as I'm concerned, had very little to no CG whatsoever, so thumbs up for that. Thumbs up for there being a movie, a scary movie that doesn't go all out on spooky effects. I don't know if you can hear the phone ringing in the background, but I tried to get it out of the room so that I could do this without being interrupted. And anyway, thumbs up to them for not going all out in some sort of special effects extravaganza. That part I appreciated. The idea of the movie was okay, but as far as it being scary, the only thing that got to me was my own personal fears about the being underground or being in a small pent-up place where you could get stuck and die, where it collapse on you and crush you. But the spooks and the jumps and all this and that were either not there or very ineffectual. So this is why you won't see me covering a lot of scary movies or horror movies at any point on my channel, because those are just not the kind of movies that I'm into. If a movie would scare me and have an effect, I could get into that. But usually they're just so cheeseball and mediocre was a good term I read for it on the Wikipedia page when I was looking some info up on it before I started this. That's just how it was. It's too bad. I liked some of the actors in it, would check them out and other things, but overall, very let down by this particular rental that I did. So that's that. As above, so below. It's a movie. It's a horror movie. If you like horror movies, it might be up your alley, but for me, it was just a big, steamy pile of meh. So that's that. I'm done for now. Hope to be back very, very soon because I do have some more voodoo movies that need to be watched. Vacation is just about over, and I've really let a lot of it slide by without getting much stuff done. But anyway, that's for another time. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you next time.